Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good afternoon. All right. The Buddha's teachings on social and communal harmony. Very, very important to our structure, to our direction in the future. So this is a very serious study, and I know most of you are taking it seriously. One's own good and the good of others, right? That's what you had for working with last week in your life. Is there anyone who would like to share any experiences or insights that they had that pertain to this particular chapter? Yes.
I just have found it become easier to catch myself when I'm perhaps going to use harsh speech
Mm-hmm.
with another or idle speech.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like as time goes by, I can catch it and I can change it, or I don't say anything, I remain silent. So I've found just being aware.
Yeah, being aware, being mindful of how you relate to others. Yeah, very good. That's the purpose of the dance. So it's very good. Do you also work on countermeasures? In other words, the behavior that you observe in a situation, that you go back and look at that differently in your mind and see what root causes are causing that, whether it be greed, anger, or
I just know I feel more compassion
okay.
in a person sometimes when I feel that I'm right and that I need to make my point. And then I just, so I guess maybe mine comes from that, that insecurity wanting to be right, or the ego wanting to be right.
Mm-hmm. What I'm asking is, do you then observe practices that will keep you from falling into that same hole in the future? In other words, I'm helping you look at things so that you don't get stuck in one place and you go, oh, here's this hole again. How do I always fall into this hole? But rather determining what mind state causes you to do that, and you alluded to that by saying maybe it's ego, maybe it's selfing, maybe it's something. But at least you're looking to see some probabilities so that you can change those, and you'll find yourself not just being there, but being different. Yeah. Because, if you can't change it, if you can't be different, then what's the point? So you want to use that as stepping stones, as building blocks toward becoming the wise person. Nobody wants to be the fool. No. No. So verbal misconduct. Yeah? Okay. Was there a hand somewhere? Yes, Ruth.
Just this morning, I said, I hate Duke.
Yes, you did.
You want to tell them what you said to me in response?
I don't remember. What did I say?
You said it's okay, stop. But I have to say that I haven't really stopped. And in fact, my hatred has grown.
Okay.
Because, they didn't show up in any kind of timely fashion to fix it. All summer we were kind of inconvenienced by them doing work on all the trees around here.
Right.
And I thought, well, stations. So,
Hmm.
when a tree falls on a line, thousands of people get knocked out. But apparently they didn't do the tree work up here, so, um, but I'm being mindful of it. I've hated to for as long as I've lived in North Carolina, and I hope that someday I'll stop, but don't know when that's going to be.
Well, continue to ask yourself, how's it working for you? Is it bringing about any good solutions, or is it just aggravating you? Because Duke doesn't know. Duke doesn't care.
Well, they certainly don't care.
And they don't know either, unless you protest.
Yeah, I was just reading this morning about the effectiveness of mass protests, the mass protests around the world, and I'm thinking maybe it's time to nationalize the grid so that there aren't shareholders and people who are profiting off of this kind of stuff, and maybe we should have a mass protest about that.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good thing to do, I think. If that's what you're inclined to think is a good thing to do. I'm personally more concerned about their fracking policies than whether they put another substation up.
There's a bill pending before the legislature right now that would allow Duke to continue to make even more money off of us for
Mm-hmm.
doing anything like cleaning up the coal ash ponds or any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess one of the things we could do would be to write our legislators and tell them to vote against Senate Bill 559.
Okay. Did everyone who votes hear? Did you hear that? Okay. Yes.
So, did you was working on something for the Citizens Academy, and that is teaching us how to know about pending legislation and where we can make comments before something becomes a law and trying to undo it. So that's part of our societal, our ignorance about how our system works, and there's some things that we can do that we don't do, that we don't know to do, or it hasn't, really mattered to us to do. So being proactive is not always just protesting, but it's finding out what's on the horizon and stepping up to it then. But most of us are just so busy with our lives, our little conveniences, and that's how these things they come upon us, and we're like what happened? Oh, that's just the way it is. And so it takes time to shift and become proactive and responsible for the democracy of the society that we say we want. We've abdicated and we've left it to others. So who can blame them for doing whatever they want to do? Yes.
But I would say, in terms of being a good person, that we wouldn't want to do that with hatred in our hearts.
So first we have to do our own work, right? So when I was excited this morning when I got the call, I can tell you were a little bit perturbed, but I was excited because I got the signal yesterday to cook breakfast this morning, and I did it at Hardwood. So it didn't matter that, the breakfast was cooked there, and I was so happy because I felt like I got a signal. In the beginning it feels like a coat, later it feels like a jacket, then it feels like a sweater, then it feels like a blouse, then it just feels like skin, and you don't even feel skin, unless it's hurting, and so that's how both wisdom and intuition grow upon us. It's a very gradual thing. That you always think, well, how do you know when you got it? You know when you know. There's a whole lot of things that you never question, well, how do I know? It's only when it comes around this. Well, how do I know when I'm wise? How do I know? But there's a thousand things in the course of a day that you know that you know. There's no question. And so it gets like this. You just know that you know. And you do that. And then when you just see how life can be easier for you when you're tapping in, when you're really in the zone. But when you get pissed off, when you get upset, when you get fearful, when you get anxious, it completely destroys the capacity to receive the signal. It's like you get them to when you turn in the dial. Oh, you don't turn the dial anymore. But you turn it out, and you get that kind of sound because you're getting further and further away from the power station, the powerhouse of the wisdom itself. So these are ways that we can allow everything to teach us. Everything is our teacher. Every situation.
Well, another way to say that is that everything is Dharma. So, is there any more sharing that about their experiences last week pertaining to that chapter on one's own good and the good of others? Anyone just have any thoughts about it? Yes, John.
Sunday, my mind became disturbed
Here?
after.
Okay.
And then I have practices, I have movement practices that I do, and things settle, and I'm able to ground and center. I thought I was pretty good, and then I go in my room, I have another grounding exercise that I enjoy doing. And for some reason, a fly is buzzing in a fashion that it was amazing, the resilient fashion that this fly was buzzing around my room. And I'm distracting myself enough due to my movement practice, but sure enough, the flies, so I'm able, while I'm distracted doing my movement practice, I'm noticing the fly is still really, really doing whatever the fly was doing, buzzing all around, and it was like really getting into my sense consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And then I stopped doing my exercise, opened the door, and I had a sense to shoo the fly out the door, and it wasn't happening. And then I decided on a measure, I had a towel, and I'm petitioning it for it to go out the door, shooing it, and sure enough it's going on. Then I said, okay, I'm going to let that go, and then I read one of my Dharma books, and I can't read.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I get a little more energy to investigate this fly that is still buzzing around. And finally I summoned enough will to just, and maybe luck, and I just really just whacked it. And it stopped. But I was still disturbed. But I had this...
So you smashed the fly?
I did finally smash the fly.
Okay.
And it didn't do what I had hoped.
Didn't satisfy you, did it? Hmm. You never thought about letting the fly have your room and shutting the door and doing your movement exercise in another place?
Not enough to make it happen. The little window of that was there. I didn't
Okay.
fall
All right, so what are the three kilesas? Greed and anger, the middle one, right? So you allowed the fly to irritate you to no end, till you just decided to kill the fly. Do you think that's a good strategy?
So the balance was no, and the other thought was my intelligence wasn't allowing the choice. I felt that something larger was challenging me at that moment, and I couldn't rise to the situation to allow that greater intelligence to happen.
The Lord of the Flies was...
Whoever commanded it.
Okay. Well, from my point of view, I would just observe the little that it took, the little fly, to cause me to kill, to cause me to think of killing. You know, and how powerful not the fly is, but my own energy for destroying what doesn't behave in my opinion. You know, might be something else next time.
And I also had the thought, I've seen flies land on people in meditation or even in practical sex, and it's not
Mhm.
bothering them at all.
Hmm.
And I was like, how do you do that?
Well, it's because they turn their mind toward that. They see that as an option, and develop the will to hold that option, as opposed to thinking the first thing to do is to destroy my distraction so it won't be there anymore. Because you don't know, again, we never know what the next distraction is going to be. And it might be something that we really feel is precious and valuable. And, you know, our first thought is to destroy it, and I can go back into my movement. So think about it.
So I was curious, you used the word, you said, I investigated the fly. Remember saying that? You said, I turned my attention to the fly and I investigated him. But you didn't turn your attention to the mind to see what the aggravation was of the movement of the mind. You turned it to the fly, and whatever we think and ponder on becomes, you know, where all of our attention goes. And so you did that. It was your own power that took you to that, just by unwise attention.
Got it? Okay. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. You know, one of the things that I've noticed is that it takes a lot of strength and courage to reveal, you know, inappropriate actions. So thank you for that. I appreciate your trust. Thank you. Now I know you weren't the only one that thought about killing a fly, but so appreciate it. Yes.
On the other end of the spectrum, I'm right now in a situation where I'm the doula for a dying person. And the services, my role is really to find what services of comfort for the family
Mm-hmm.
need. And one request came up that I didn't know how to fill, and so I just sat with it and realized I could call a friend, and that friend gave me a couple resources, and that person said, well, let me get back with you. I have to really think about this because it's such a sacred way
Mm-hmm.
to give a massage to a dying person.
Mm-hmm.
And she did, and she said that she realized she'd been called to do it, and she had a lot of fear, but it was just beautiful for the two of them and the whole family, and because it helped the massage therapist let go of fears of her own.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that it was life-changing, which is exactly the same words that my dying client said. And I mean, just when you go with the right heart and you really do think about your intention, you know, the gift she had to give came through.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been it's a very sacred time, and so I'm kind of raw.
Okay.
This work is helping me.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. It was great that you kept yourself in the capacity that was asked of you. You know, you didn't extend and say, well, oh, I know what to do, you know, and impose your own will on something, but you stayed true to the request. And that's very, very important for those who deal with death and dying, that they listen to everyone, specifically the one that's dying. Because we'll all get an opportunity to do that. And it's very nice to be around people who will honor your request if you're the one that's the next in line, as opposed to pushing their own ideas. I've been to many squabbles where there were family members who wanted something this done or my faith or my way, and how much discord they bring to the process. So very good. That was great. Thank you.
John, I have to say I'm very happy because you were checked out, but you're checking back in. So it feels uncomfortable, but that's actually what is happening.
All right, if it's all right with everyone, we'll progress to the next section, which is the intentional community, which is why we're here and what we're trying to develop. It's an intentional community. So one of the things that I think would be required of all of us is to ask ourselves, what do we see as the framework, the responsibilities that come with belonging to an intentional community? What do I think what does that mean? And then that's what we're going into in this section. What does that mean? What is our individual responsibilities to the development, the care, the strengthening of an intentional community? I think what this whole book is reminding us of is before we start to work on the outer, start to try to make changes on the exterior, that we make sure that we're in the appropriate heart space, that we have the right intentions, that we understand what it is we're doing and what it is that we're trying to give birth to, so that we don't bring more harm to the world. We don't bring more discord to the world. So, the introduction to this section says that communities can be distinguished in two ways, into two types, which we might call the natural and the intentional. The natural community is one that emerges spontaneously from the natural bonds between people. In concrete experience, the natural community is already given along with the life world in which we are embedded. So in other words, family, tribe. It says we do not form natural communities, but find ourselves immersed in them, even from birth, as completely as a fish immersed in the sea. Now, far be it from me to dispute Bhikkhu Bodhi or the Dalai Lama. And these are the mind states that went into developing this book after reviewing the suttas from thousands of years ago. But I think that even within family we have a hierarchy, or we have groups that separate themselves or remove themselves from the total relationship or agreement and become sort of isolated within themselves, like a brother and sister, or disassociated themselves, like father and mother, or husband and wife. They don't work together. They don't work in harmony. It says the principles that govern an international or intentional community were of particular concern to the Buddha, because he was the founder of a monastic order that brought together men and women under a shared commitment to the teaching. So, okay, that's the first thing it's telling us, that we have to come together in agreement, that we see the teaching, the Dharma, the instruction, as something that's beneficial to ourselves and to the world. I had a process through life as I investigated different pathways, that I would go there because I, first of all, maybe appreciated what I saw on the outside. Strong people attending church. I had an affinity for Jehovah's Witnesses, and what I appreciated about them, Jehovah's Witnesses, was their work ethic. That they got out on Sunday morning and knocked on doors knowing that they were going to get cursed out, doors slammed in their face. But they went anyway because they had this love for what they did, what they embraced. And I would invite them in, make a cup of tea, talk to them, let them know that I appreciate what you got. It's working for you. I've got something too, but I appreciate you stopping and sharing what you have and what you're giving to the world, in your opinion. It says that the members of the order came from different geographical areas, had been born into different castes, had very different ideas and attitudes, and even spoke different dialects. So he had a job to do. There's no doubt about that. And on top of all of that, on top of dealing with caste systems and dialects and things like that, and being from different regions, warring regions of the country, he let women in. And that was bold and what's the word? What, wise? Oh, without a doubt it was wise. But it was also revolutionary. Because, he knew what he was putting on his shoulders when he invited the wise women and grandmothers in to the group. That there was a huge blowback. And we know that because even today, in India and other regions around the world, women are not treated with respect. Like right here. Well, not right here, but right in America, when we talk about equal pay. It says it was necessary to lay down rules that would prescribe uniform standards of behavior and define the procedures of conducting communal affairs. In the face of divisive pressures and even rebellion, he had to preserve harmony and heal conflicts, which erupted several times in the course of his teaching career. It says that the chapter begins with a series of short discourses that distinguish 5 opposite kinds of communities: the shallow and the deep, the divided and the harmonious, and so forth, extolling the worthy types of community over the unworthy types. Discuss the forces of attraction that draw people together into communities. The general factor is stated in 721, people meet and unite by way of the elements on account of their disposition. People unite with those who share their interests and aims. The force of attraction again divide the resulting communities into 2 types: bad union and good union. Now, this is expressing to us that we are first attracted to community by seeing, again, as I said in my own journey, people that were at the fringes, at the exterior, I liked the way they acted. I liked the way they lived their lives. I liked the way they treated me as a friend. And so it begins to tell us that before we even join or gravitate toward a intentional community or communal community, that we examine ourselves and our intentions and make sure that we can come in good membership with those who are already present. Lots of times we encounter people who want to come in and change everything around, you know. So it reflects more of their intention and more of their color and more of their belief system than what's already present in the community. And even though I stopped in many different theologies and philosophies, it never occurred to me to kill the fly. You know, it occurred to me to move on and to not try to tear their house down or their church down because I saw something that I didn't agree with or I heard something I couldn't agree with. You know, that I said, well, it's just time for me to move on. They've got good traits and they've got good ideas, but just some things I don't like. Well, it wasn't for me to stay there and change those things in that group. It was for me to continue my journey. So he says, the forces of attraction, again, divide the resultant communities into two types. The bad union, which is like excrement merging with excrement or spittle with spittle. Oh, that's graphic, isn't it? And the good union, which is like milk merging with milk or honey with honey. One set of principles for building a healthy community is the four Sangha Havatus, a term that might be translated as the four means of embracing others. Sounds good. Or the four means of attraction and support. So it's telling us that our responsibility in being a member of an intentional community is to develop our behavior and our relationship to others with support, with caring. It says the four sketched are giving. That's the first, giving. Giving of ourselves. One of the things that we used to do here that we've dropped from our agenda, but we should include again, Panyawadi was mentioning that, and that we used to welcome. We used to have a welcomer at the door. Now this sounds very Christian or very Baptist, but we found that it was very pleasant for people who just wandered in or heard about us and just decided to stop in, that there was somebody there at the door that says, welcome, what's your name? You know, let me tell you about the place, let me tell you about what we're doing. We don't do that anymore, and I don't know why we don't. We can't get enough volunteers. Okay, there you go. So this is another reason why we're studying how to develop intentional community. It says giving enduring speech, beneficent conduct, and impartiality. The last one, that thing about impartiality, the last interpreted to mean the treatment of others as equal to oneself. So again, it's very important for us not to look down on the people. If we were the greeter, or if we weren't the greeter, but we just happened to be walking the door at the same time, that we won't look down on someone else because they hadn't been here before, they don't know how to bow, they forgot to take off the shoes, you know, that we don't yell at them and say, hey, you're breaking the rules. So I would just point at their feet. Say, shoes. So far, we're still talking about things to do to develop ourselves, to make ourselves good custodians of the community, beneficial worker bees in the community.
I think he's saying that community is us. We are the community. You know, we can't talk about having a song or whatever. I am that. What does that mean to you when you say, I am the sangha? I am the community. So he talks about our coming together and what our role is. And he said it's to preserve harmony and to heal conflict. Now, if I don't have to deal with you, if I don't like you, I just go home, you know, then I don't have anything to do. But if I'm here, and I'm going to see you next week, I'm going to see you in 15 minutes, I'm going to see you tomorrow, then I have to be working towards something that makes us impartially sangha. So our work then is study, I study for myself. You know, whatever I get, I get. But what I do for the collective is work at preserving harmony. And what's the second one? Healing conflict. Healing conflict. So we should be constantly looking at ourselves at how we handle something, because that real life moment, that was the teacher. The thought that popped up in my head, like, did you hear what she said? Like, I'm gonna talk to that sister right there. Or saying something and somebody heard it and they just walked in the door and they said, oh, these people just like everybody else. Go out the door and never come back again. And you don't even know what happened to them. I wonder what happened to that lady that came. She heard what you said, you know. And so when we think about, really being circumspect, really thinking that when I'm here, I don't represent myself. When I was home, I represented myself. But when I come here, I represent the Dharma. What does that mean? How do I enter into that? How do I free myself from my habitual ways of thinking? My habitual ways, which is the reason I said I wanted to come. But we have to really, really do it. And it doesn't mean like just living here because like my bed is in Harlem. But it means that every time I come in, having a sense of, how when you come in, you really burden, and somebody notices, they don't have to come and touch you. You can feel it when you step in a place where the people care. You can feel it. And so thinking in this kind of way is how we improve the mind. And the mind starts to think of the other as equal to oneself. The mind starts to think of the other, and there's a way that the heart taps in to the other person there. And one can know what another is thinking, or one is feeling, or one is experiencing. More than even just what they observe with their eyes or what they heard. You can feel into this. Because that's where the real experience is. And so, and I point that one out because this week, that's our first homework assignment. Where do I fit on the spectrum of seeing and participating in the importance of preserving harmony and healing conflict? Here, at home, at work, somebody you bump into out in the street, wherever you see conflict, what is your view? What can I do to heal the conflict? Not who's right, not who's wrong. I need to get somebody straightened out. But what is my role, my place? And sometimes it's like not saying anything to them. Right? Sometimes it's just thinking in my own mind. I feel that way about her too. So I have to work on me. Not for me to say anything. I bring angry, or I bring some kind of detrimental energy. You know, I didn't say it, but I was thinking it. You know, and so it's this way. This is all about knowing oneself. Can you see that? To know the Dharma is to know oneself directly. All the good, the bad, the ugly, the immature, the wise, the crafty, the everything. We can know ourselves. And then we know the Dharma. That's how the wisdom arises. It comes from us actually knowing ourselves, not knowing the other person. But he said that once one knows oneself, then one can know the 10,000 things. So it's so exciting. This kind of, this is it's not for the faint-hearted. But one can get really, really excited about the potential. What we said we wanted to enter into. You know, this is the way that we enter into it. But first, we have to really want it. We really want it to go this far. Some of us do, some of us don't. If you don't, that's okay. But some do. So we have to have teachings that point the way how to get to that, you know, to go that far. So if you bump up against something and say, like, yeah, I know I need to work on that, but I'm not ready right now, just keep looking at it. Just keep looking at it. But there comes a time when people will know who's ready and who's not. Not by what they say, but by the fragrance that comes off. If you want to be known as wise, compassionate, you can't just talk words. If you really do consider others equal with yourself, you won't just step aside and let everybody else do what has to be done, and then you just come to your seat and sit there. You're going to leave somebody to straighten up your chair. Get out of it. You know, you straighten up your chair and the chair next to it. No, if these are naturally occurring behaviors, you know, we won't have to ask for a volunteer. You know, beg for volunteer. We just quit begging, you know, because we ask for people to take, I think, to commit to 1 month, 5 minutes, you know, 5 minutes one time, and we couldn't even keep that going, to just welcome a stranger coming in. So this is asking us to really, really look deeply at what our true intention is and who we say that we are. I just wanted to bring that up before we left that page.
Sure, that's great.
Cordiality. That's what he started with. We jumped to the back of the book. We want the mindfulness. We want the concentration. We want all of that that's at the end of the road. But he started with generosity, cordiality, you know, all of these kinds of things. And then when he saw that one was ready, then he started to do this, and this. We just got it, the tailspin hit the U.S., and we got it from the back end first. And so that's why we have it so mixed up. That's why we have such a great intention. Why we have such a great desire to know and to do. And like what's the problem? You know, why am I still doing these things that I don't want to do? Because we didn't take it as a gradual training. Starting with generosity, cordiality. When that's perfected, we move on to the next thing. Then when we get to mindfulness, we can have a very strong mind, but it will be based on right view. We can have a very strong mind, but it will be based on a heart of compassion. We can be very mindful, but it will be based on, you see, it's like this, line by line, precept by precept, here a little, there a little, until we come to the fullness. So we're just filling in the gaps now. Was not in the books, because we thought that was too elementary for us, because we're so intellectual and advanced. Sorry,
Oh, go on. Go ahead.
I'm through.
You are? Okay. Mm. Let's see, where can I segue?
107, the last line of 106, before it's passing.
Okay, so we covered the four means of embracing others, or the four means of attraction and support. And again, it's giving, endearing speech, beneficent conduct, and impartiality. And again, impartiality is last interpreted to mean the treatment of others as equal to oneself. Hard to see, hard to do, but necessary. They receive much more attention in the Mahayana sutras and treatises, where they are listed as one of the chief means the Bodhisattva employs to attract others and transform them into a positive in a positive direction. You know, we talk a lot about the Bodhisattva vow and incense burning, attracting the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. But the best way that I can make your world better is to make me better. Is to work on my stuff, do my studies, practice my practice. And as I live in a kindly, harmonious manner, that's what I bring to the table for you. And the same thing that you bring to me when you do the same thing. So it's not extra work that we have to do. It's just the work that we have to do. It's not extra, it's just the work. What the chasm that I want everyone to be able to leap over or step over is the awareness that I'm not as endearing as I want to be, but I find myself making the same mistakes over and over again, and I wonder why I can't make any progress. And as we talked about earlier, that's about the fact that I've got to bring into the measure a desire to stop doing what I'm doing that I don't agree with and start to do something different. And I've got to do that. I can't, the unicorn doesn't come by magic. I can't make it happen. I've got to practice it to make it happen. I've got to practice the right way to live the right way. Right? Now, one of the reasons that we emphasize learning the Dhamma and studying the Dhamma is because Ananda asked the Buddha, who are you going to support? Who are you going to nominate when it's your time for parinibbana? Who are you going to choose as a leader for the Sangha and both the intentional Sangha and the lay Sangha? He says, it might be, Ananda, that you think the teaching has lost its teacher. We no longer have a teacher. You should not think that way. The Dhamma and the Vinaya taught and promulgated by me will be your teacher after I am gone. And so there was someone last Tuesday maybe, or one of the sessions last week, who said, I still don't have the faith that this will work, or doesn't seem to work for me, you know. And the reason I have the faith in the Dhamma is because the scriptures, the suttas, tell me that this embodies the Buddha's practice. This embodies, it's just like having Buddha right here. That's why I'm so excited about it, and that's why I read it, and that's why I talk about it, because I have the faith that it is embedded with the power of transformation. But I just have to use it. I just have to work with it. I just have to have patience in myself to realize that why I do what I do is out of habit. And I've been doing it this whole life, and maybe even more lifetimes than this life. So I've got to practice on myself to give myself, to be patient with myself and to be loving with myself. To give myself the space to practice and make mistakes. And to learn, again, we talk about learning from the mistakes that we make. And not just observing them and saying, oh, okay, that's me over there. But what do I do to change this behavior? What do I do to make this different? How do I see a different purpose in this? And that's the question I feel should be answered or should be asked each time I find myself in the hole.
Not just having confidence in the Dharma, but having confidence in the Sangha. You know, that a person is working on this stuff. You know, but they may not have perfected it yet the same way that I haven't perfected mine, but recognize that they're working on it. And I know that could be possible because I'm working on mine. No, even though they may not see it, even though I may not be doing it, I'm continually washing the mind with what I want to step into. I just have not been able to yet, you know. But the time will come, you know, like one day you just reach that tipping point, and that breaks, that tendency breaks, that habit breaks, that way of seeing something, you know, falls away. And then one is free, and one has become free by one's own effort, by one's own continually inclining the mind in a certain direction. And I know that the teacher is always with me, which is the Dharma that I act upon. That is my teacher, you know. And so as we can see progress made within ourselves, you know, then we can also put forth a little confidence and faith that others are working on their stuff too. Now the reason rules came in is because some just are not going to work on theirs right then. So there has to be some guideline for, like, how far is too far, how much is too much. You know, when do we have to hold the container? I mean, my master told me, she said, okay, let me tell you this about, this is not a mental hospital. It takes 80 people with a strong mind to handle one who doesn't. Now, that was her warning to, like, oh, you just want to go and grab everybody and bring them in. Everybody can't handle it. So as much as we may want everybody, it would be too much of a hardship for some because they don't have the stamina. They don't have, they may have the desire, but they don't even have the karma at this time. My cat's a cat. My cat is not a dog at this time. You know, so as much as he might want to act like a dog, he's not a dog, he's a cat. You know, and so it's bit by bit we learn the wisdom to know who can be helped, you know, and who can't be helped. How much to help someone, and how much you have to let them find their own way of understanding something. And this is where wisdom comes in, and it's a gradual thing. You know, so we're always growing, all the time. We're learning if we will observe the moment and observe the interaction and see what there is positive to get out of this moment or out of this interaction. I have to admit, if the teacher was here, who was here last week, was here when the power went out, I'm not sure I could rise quite to the level of not being anxious. But having the teacher here, that's here this week, I could rise to it. You got to know what you can handle, what you can't. The other one I might have had to read. This one, I knew I could handle. You know, so you have to know what you can handle, and you have to, like, just be in there. You know, so when the lights went out, I'm like, oh, no problem. You know, we'll bring some candles. We bought lots of what do you call those things? Lanterns, you know, so we have lots of lanterns. And I can't control Duke, and I can't control the transformer. If it blows, you know. And so it was not a problem for me because I felt confident that I could handle this situation. Last week, I might not have felt that confident because there was a very difficult person to handle. You know, so it's no harm in knowing what something is. He said you just got to know it. And when you really know it right, you know how you need to handle yourself in that situation. Or whether you even want to set yourself up for that in the future. You know, I mean, we have choices. But just seeing this clearly. You see, this really is a walking through it thing. It's not a memorizing thing. It's walking through it and see what's happening now. How am I reacting to this now? What am I experiencing right now? How am I looking at it right now? You know, and then we get to know ourselves within the situation, and we can figure out what step I need to take to be where I want to be on the spectrum of wise versus foolish, and then we take that step. I'm still getting emails from somebody that I decided I cannot help, you know, because they don't really want my help. They think they're okay like they are. So they continue to do certain things, even though I said, you know, that's not right. You know, that's not fair to others. You know, oh, I know. But I don't lie all the time, just sometimes. You know, I mean, they really don't feel a need to change. Well, that's fine. They don't have to change. They just can't. Because it destroys the harmony and the purpose for being. And so this is how we can make decisions, and we can feel confident in our decisions when we know we have looked at it with impartiality, you know, and when we know that we have examined ourselves. So we're not doing it out of spite. We're not doing it because they like just not our kind of people. We're not doing it, you know, all of these reasons that we have in the world when we're comparing ourselves with others. This becomes a place of non-comparison. Self gets out the way. We can see this is what this is. I can handle it, or I can't handle it. If I can't handle it, then I hold my peace. If I can't handle it, then I speak.
Okay, we're going to ask all of you to study this particular section for 2 weeks, break it down into half. And obviously the first half in the first week and the second half in the second week. Up to section 3 on page 115. We think that the information that we can retrieve in this section is very, very important to the health and vitality of the Sangha. We're going to take on something ambitious, which is we're going to have enough monastics by December to hold a quorum, which means that we will be able to initiate or ordain both monks and nuns who desire to do that. And before that, we didn't have a quorum, so we couldn't do it. And one of the reasons that a quorum is necessary is because you can ordain, but you can't disordain. So if you make a mistake, you got it. It's your baby forever. Okay. Any questions? Comments? Okay. May all beings be liberated from suffering. May we be well. May we be happy. May we be peaceful. May no harm come to us. May no difficulties come to us. May no problems come to us. May we always meet with success. May we also have the wisdom, courage to encounter and stay with and resolve the obvious difficulties of life. Thank you so much for all you do, your support and your success. We appreciate you. We love you. And we're trying to do our part to make this as strong as we can be.